Hello everyone, now today I'm in the greenhouse because I want to show you all how the Gardena irrigation system has been working for us over the summer, plus I can give you a little bit of a tour as well. And then we'll be heading up the allotment because there's lots of jobs to do up there. There's lots of weeding, there's some harvesting to do. I want to dry some of my herbs for herbal teas as well. I'm going to be feeding the allotment using my homemade fertilizers. And I'll also be making a trellis for my Keuka melons using an old ladder. So the greenhouse, now you haven't actually seen this now for a good 3 or 4 months, and I must admit it's not my greenhouse, it's in my dad's back garden, so it's completely and utterly his greenhouse, so he's growing what he wants in there. Now last time you saw it, I think we probably had the staging up, so we had the tables either side and they were probably full to the brim with seedlings and seed trays and all the exciting spring stuff. But they made way for the tomatoes. So there's 6 tomatoes this side, 4 tomatoes this side, and 2 cucumbers at the far end there. And then he's put in a row of basil on each side. Now you can tell this is my dad's greenhouse because I don't really like tomatoes. I have to admit it, I like tomato sauce, you know, I like pasta sauce, bolognese and things like that, but I just don't like the texture of tomatoes in my mouth. And actually I was growing this tomato here, which is a container one, a hanging one, and again, I don't know why I decided to grow it because I don't really like tomatoes. But anyway, they've been harvesting, my mum and my dad, they've been harvesting tomatoes, so they've really enjoyed it, and I like cucumbers too, so it's a good thing really because my dad's been harvesting quite a lot of cucumbers, and there's one there ready to harvest now, actually just hanging over my succulents. But no, the greenhouse has done really well, and that is down to one thing, which has been the Gardena irrigation, which I set up here. I think it was around April, May time. It's been the best thing we could get for the greenhouse, especially with such a busy work schedule and such a busy life. As you know, me and my dad, we do the garden show, so we can be away nearly every weekend, and actually RHS Tatton we were away for a whole week, so the irrigation has proved itself. It's done such a great job. We use the Gardena easy computer control, which you set up so it will come on automatically whenever you set the time and the date. So yeah, it's just been a complete and utter lifesaver, especially with this heat wave that the UK has been having. It's been amazing. I've turned it on now, so it's dripping a little bit now and feeding those hungry tomatoes. My dad's actually away on holiday, so I need to look after his greenhouse, or in fact the irrigation just does it for me, so it's an easy job to look after the greenhouse now. But yeah, I mean there's not a lot else to show you in the greenhouse. It's just tomatoes, cucumbers and basil. I'll probably make some pesto with the basil, but I'm not touching the tomatoes. Sorry tomatoes, you look nice, but I just don't like you. Anyway, that's about it for the greenhouse, so we'll head on over to the allotment now because there's so many jobs to do over there. So, I know it's a little bit late in the season, it's the middle of August and my Keuka melon is sprawling along the trough, but I finally got around to making my trellis. Now before I made one out of some odd bits of hazel, but that was about 3 or 4 years ago now and that rotted. So what I thought I would do this year is use this old ladder for my Keuka melon to climb up. Now all I've done is I've cut off the bottom 3 rungs because I'm going to bang this into the ground now. So these are sort of like the legs. But the idea anyway is to just give something for the Keuka melon to cling onto so it can climb up and I can actually see if there's any Keuka melons to harvest. But we have quite a few of these old ladders hanging around, so I thought I would upcycle and reuse. Now this is going to be the tricky bit. My gigantic sunflower is going to be in the way, but I want it to go about there. Now this is going to be the really tricky bit because I have to use my muscles now and try and get it in the ground without standing on the Keuka melon too. Oh, I can just about get to the top. Right, let's see. Well, it's banging in. Oh, I'm standing on all the Keuka melons. I think I might need to tie this on at some point just to make sure it stays on the ladder. But it looks really good. And I can see so many Keuka melons there. Because it was laying down before, it was really hard to spot them. But there's absolutely loads I can see here. Wow. I'm going to try and find one that's ready. This one looks ready. I've never tasted a Keuka melon before and this is the first time I've ever grown them. And the only reason why I'm growing them in the first place is because the gherkin that I grew to be planted here, my dad threw in the bin. So I was without a gherkin and I went to the shop to buy a gherkin, backup gherkin plant, and they didn't have any. They had a Keuka melon plant, so I thought, oh, I'll just bung that in and see how it goes, and if it grows then great, and if it doesn't then at least I tried. But I'm so amazed with how well it's grown, especially since it hasn't had anything to grow up. But anyway, let's try this. That's so nice. I can't taste the melon. It's got a very strong cucumber taste. Oh, but it's so nice. Thank you. Thank you, Dad, for throwing out my gherkin so I could try these instead. There's absolutely loads. Wow. I'm gonna have to save some so my dad can try them. But wow, I'm so amazed at how well it's grown. So amazed. And hopefully it will grow better now that it's got something to climb up. And I've made use of an old ladder, which is perfect. So, on with the next job. So it's time to use my homemade fertilisers on the allotment, and I'm so excited. It's the first year that I've ever made my own fertilisers, so I cannot wait to see how the allotment benefits from it. Now, they're really easy to make. I have made nettle and comfrey, but I want to do the same with seaweed somewhere along the line as well. But you make them all the same way. I do have a video of me making the nettle, but I'll quickly just tell you now. You just take the leaves, crunch them up, put them in a bucket or a container, weigh them down with the brick and cover them with water, and then just let it brew for about a month. Now, I let the nettle brew for about half a year, so that's some strong stuff in there. But once it's brewed, you can just strain it through an old sieve and then bottle it up, which is what I've done here. Just remember to label your bottles as well. So I've popped nettle and then comfrey on here. Now, comfrey fertiliser is one of the best fertilisers you can make. It's high in nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium as well, so it's one of the best ones, and it's actually proven to be 3 times better than farmyard manure. So yeah, it's supposed to be really good, so I'm excited to see how this one turns out. Now, this can be used on fruits and flowers, so I'm going to put it on my dahlias, water a few of the perennials with it, and I'm also going to try it out on my courgettes and my pumpkin and my butternut squash inside the trough. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how this one goes. But nettle, on the other hand, is very high in nitrogen, so that's perfect for your leafy greens. So that's going to be mainly used on the brassica bed, but I might put some on my leeks and Swiss chard as well. All you need to do, I will just quickly mention, is dilute it. Now, I'm going to use a jar. You need to dilute it 1 part fertiliser to 10 part water. So all I'm going to do is get my watering can, fill it with water from the water butt, and then put in 1 jar of fertiliser. But like I said, just remember to label your bottles so you don't get confused. So I'm going to feed things for the first time today, and then what I'll do is probably repeat that every 2 weeks. But the other thing I want to do is pop some straw down underneath my pumpkins, because I have a gigantic pumpkin. the other side of the carrots, and there's also quite a large one growing amongst the sweet corn, but I want to protect them, so by putting a layer of straw underneath. You can also use a paving slab or something similar. It will just protect it from sitting on that wet soil. Yeah, I really don't want anything to happen to my pumpkins. I'm so proud of how big it's gotten. I think it's the biggest pumpkin I've grown so far. So I'm going to protect them, and I'm also going to pop some straw into the trough as well to protect my butternut squashes. So I'm going to feed the allotment with my homemade fertilizers, and then just pop some straw underneath the pumpkins, and then I might do a little bit of harvesting. So today I've picked a few of my herbs and edible flowers, because the plan all along was to try and grow a few new herbs and flowers so I could make my own herbal teas with. And I think I went into it in a little bit more detail at the beginning of the year when I go through the plan and all that, but it was something that I was so interested in doing, and it really excites me. It's just this year has been so manic and so crazy that it's just sort of gone by in a blur, and the herbs have been a little bit neglected, and quite a lot of them actually have gone to seed. But I'm going to try and salvage what I can from them, and hopefully get a few delicious herbal teas. It's a little bit of an experiment really. The only herbal tea I have so far is chamomile, but I really love that. And I love the whole natural remedies and all that sort of stuff. So it's something I really want to learn more about. It's just finding the time to do it right now. But I will just go through what I've picked, and I've also written a few notes down. I wrote these at the beginning of the year. So we've got some dried dill here. Now that improves digestion and eases complaints and helps with insomnia and menstrual problems. So these are dried. These dried naturally on the plant in the brassica cage. So I'm going to pop the seeds in a jar. Now I've also picked some spearmint, which has gone to seed, but I'm going to try and salvage a few of the leaves. It just smells so delicious. So spearmint cools and settles the stomach, reduce nausea and improves digestion. Also used for sore throats, colds, headaches and pain relief. And plus it's good for eating as well. Really nice with new potatoes. I've also grown some skullcap this year. Now this is a brand new one for me, but the natural remedies really meant something personally to me, so I thought I'd give it a go. Again, it's gone to seed, but I'm hopefully going to salvage some of the leaves. Now skullcap alleviates anxiety and supports the nervous system, calms without sedating and helps with stress and tension headaches. I've also cut some of my raspberry canes. Now before you wonder why I'm cutting my raspberry canes before they fruited, these ones were actually growing in the wrong place, completely in the wrong place, so I decided to cut them. Now I haven't written down what raspberry leaves can do for you, but I do remember that they are really good for you, and they're really good for making herbal teas with. So I'm going to pick a few of the smaller leaves, the younger leaves, to dry. But yeah, I've completely forgotten what they're good for. So these will be going on my herb racks. Now I've got two, and I did make this one here, which you can't actually see because there's so much rubbish on it, but it's just an old wooden tray with slats on the bottom, but I lined it with muslin, and I put these hooks on the corner because I was going to hang it from my ceiling. But then when I was walking around this vintage market, I came across this really perfect kitchen dryer with the chains attached and everything, and I thought that would look absolutely perfect hanging in my shed. So I treated myself to it, and I just absolutely love it. So it's got my allium flower heads, my scabious stern, kugel, some dill is drying there, and I've got some lavender on the top as well. But the plan for these, the mint, the skullcap and the raspberry leaves, is to lay them out on this rack here, once it's been tidied that is, and then let them dry naturally. If there's not enough room on here, I'll lay them out along the top of that rack there. And then once they're dry, I'll crumble up the leaves a little bit and place them into these jars, which brings me on to these. I'm so excited about these. I'm such a geek when it comes to things like this. So we were in a shop in Wales called Charlie's, which I absolutely love. And they had these jars, which are just jam jars. They were really cheap. I think they were like 6 for £4 of this size, and then I got 2 smaller ones for some of the seeds that I don't grow a lot of. But yeah, what I have done is I've printed out some labels. Now this is where I get really nerdy, but I absolutely love doing this stuff. So you can buy these sheets of labels which you go through your printer, and I've just popped a little label on there that says homegrown herbs and seeds, with some lines there so I can write what's in there, the date, what it's used for, that sort of thing. And so I've already got 2 full up here. So there's some dried calendula, touch of red buff in this jar, and there's some fennel seeds in this one. So there's a few more in there which will obviously be used for all these other herbs once they've been dried. And what I will do is I'll tidy a bit of space in my cabinet, and I'm going to place all these jars. I think it would look really nice, like a little apothecary. So yeah, that's the plan anyway. But like I said, things have just got a little bit out of hand this year, and I mean, we've been crazy busy, and it's also just been mad with the weather because, as you know, the UK has been having a bit of a heat wave for the past 2 months. And I will just say, I honestly don't think my allotment would have survived if I didn't have all these Gardena products. And I know I go on about them a lot, but it's so important to water your allotment. And if you get products which you're happy with and, you know, do the job really, really well, then, you know, there's nothing better than that. And it's just proved it this year that you need to have the right watering equipment, because my allotment wouldn't be here without, you know, my Gardena hose trolley and the sprinkler as well. And this beast has helped me in more ways than just watering. It's allowed me more time to do other things and other jobs on the allotment. So yeah, I am really, really grateful for Gardena, and I just want to thank them because the products have just been amazing. But I will just say the allotment doesn't need watering today, which I'm a little bit thankful for, because it has been non-stop watering. But it's all worth it. And looking around here now, looking at the flowers blooming and the Swiss chard and the leeks growing, and, you know, the courgettes are still producing, everything still looks really good. And I'm just so chuffed. So chuffed. Oh yeah, I'd show you what I've harvested as well. So I've picked 2 courgettes because they are just like never ending. 2 courgettes. I've also picked my first harvest of my purple curly kale. And I've harvested some more carrots. I just want to show you this one because I'm quite proud of this one. Oh, it's so perfect. It's just a shame that the other ones have like 3 legs. And, you know, I don't even know what that is. But this one turned out good, so happy. What we're going to do tonight is make a stir fry with all of this. It's just me, so it's going to make a really, really big stir fry, but hey ho, it's going to be delicious because it's all homegrown, and that's what counts. But yeah, I'm going to try and tidy the shed a bit because it's just a disgrace and I'm so ashamed of it. Plus these herbs need to go somewhere. So I won't bore you with me tidying the shed because it will probably take me a long time. But what I will say is thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.